Now, we're going to get straight into our first address today. And to borrow a phrase from not football, but from another sport, from Formula One, if you're standing still, you're going backwards. Because the development is so rapid, because things move at such a pace. And even when it comes to football development and at a regional level as well, that is also the case. The focus has to be on harnessing the present for the benefit of the future, to be forward-looking, to be relentless, to be progressive, to continue improving and building. That's how we get stuff done. So what is happening here in KwaZulu-Natal in that regard? Let's find out. Please welcome MEC for Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs for KwaZulu-Natal, Mr. Siboniso Duma. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much, David, for doing what a great job already in the morning. Greetings to everyone in this august house. It is an honor and a privilege for us to be given such a platform and our spirit, bringing the spirit of Mandela to the world of the beautiful game from the World Football Summit to give back hope to the entire world. The entire protocol is observed. It gives me a pleasure to address you on this beautiful occasion of the World Football Summit. I want to reflect on the spirit of Nelson Mandela and what it means for this community of the beautiful game. As we all know, that this is the first ever World Football Summit in Africa. It gives us a pleasure again that it is hosted here in Durban, in the beloved country of KwaZulu-Natal, where we pride ourselves as a destination province for inclusive growth and catalytic capital investment project. I'm sure you've seen the harbor, you've seen the environment, you've tasted the King Shaka Airport. Our province is not only open to short-left hospitality, which is our code word as South Africans to mean taking some time off to breathe and refresh on a holiday. We have a plenty of those destination sites in the province. Our province is also open to business, the business of sport in this particular instance. While our province is vastly rich in terms of heritage and inheritance, I'm sure the Premier has boasted around it. I'm sure MEC Mapena has also boasted around it. I'm just going to cast an outlay of what is currently happening. While our province, we are also rich in terms of recreational profile. This province alone has 3 football teams that are on top of national professional leagues in the province. I highlighted in the cocktail that AmaZulu was part of the final that took place, although they couldn't win. On the Heritage Party, the province that President Nelson Mandela kept aside and last speech before his incarceration can be found in Howick. It is part of this province. It is our province that gave the world the founding president of the African National Congress, Dr. John Langalibalele Dube, the first president of the oldest liberation movement in South Africa party that leads our government. It is in our province that one of the glorious heritages of the world is found, and that is the Zulu Kingdom, which was founded by King Shaka in 1816. The Zulu monarch and the Zulu Kingdom reside in this beautiful city. King Mrs. Zulu KwaZulu-Natal, our king, who has been recently crowned heir to the Zulu Kingdom, remain a unifying figure and a living hope of heritage in our province. I'm sure you have enjoyed your stay while you were here because of those living realities. We celebrate these festivities with his blessing and well wishes. Bayede, Wenawezulu. This is where all football industry stakeholders meet to shape the beautiful game. Indeed, the platform has evolved from a yearly gathering taking place in Madrid, focused on the European market, to a growing series of global on-site and online events that cover the challenges and opportunities in the business side of the beautiful game. I'm sure Jan and Ms. Otamendi have been thanked enough, and the entire cohort. We feel so blessed to partake in this journey together along with you, good people. In the spirit of Nelson Mandela, who was a global icon of peace and social transformation, and whom we commemorated just last week in public lecture on the Nelson Mandela Annual Lecture, which was also here in ICC. We want to urge the leaders and influences of this August summit to continue to use this platform not only to discuss sport and opportunities in the beautiful game, but also emphatically to use this magnanimous platform to delve deeper into issues affecting human society as a whole on a daily basis. It cannot be sport as usual or business as usual when half the world does not enjoy the food security. When millions of children go to bed without food, it cannot be sport as usual when millions of children do not get a decent education and a proper chance to a prosperous life. Indeed, it cannot be sport as usual when society inequality, poverty, and lack of opportunities remain entrenched deeply in our society. While we cannot put a burden of changing the world entirely on the sporting fraternity or sporting community, we can, however, safely say this community of soccer and beautiful game has a unique character and platform that enables one to reach across the globe to millions of people at once and therefore wielding untold influence. Such influence should be used for the betterment of society and the development of human race. Africa's soccer stars and legends such as George Weah of Liberia, the Samuel Eto'o, Nwankwo Kanu, and the rest, but especially these, both of whom are former World Players of the Year, have used their massive influence on the pitch to come back to their societies to try and play active roles in building their nations. Not that we are saying joining politics or public office is the only route to giving back or using one's influence in fighting social justice, but the cases and example I've just cited seeks to give an indication that the power and influence that one attains from being a football star alone can and should channel for the social cause. In the words of great Karl Marx, was a classical social theorist, political economist, and prolific futuristic, he said something profound about the humankind and the world we live in. I'm just going to quote, he said, "The point is only to analyze the world, but to understand it and to change it at the same time," close quote. This is true even for this conference of the World Football Summit, that we must correctly start at the point of analyzing the world, but we cannot just end there. We should also understand in order to change it for the betterment of the society as a whole. Not too many great people have captured the secret to a happier life through the power of giving and giving back. Also, very people have ever tasted the power and satisfaction of giving back to the people who cannot give you something in return. And as currently we are leading the department which is entrusted with an economic outlook, we're changing the patterns of life in terms of ownership. We are glad that we've managed to attract almost 800 coming from 54 countries to be part and parcel journeying with us. So it gives us a joy that we are making this a beautiful process. Even more profound is the verse of scripture that is found in the Bible, the book of Proverbs, which says, "Those who give to the poor essentially give to God." So if we aim to have a cadre of sportmen and sportwomen who desire to uplift society through your talents, fame and glory, we are essentially doing it in honor of the ones who gave us the talents. Nelson Madiba, once again, whom we celebrate over, was a passionate sportsman, a boxer of note, I'm sure that is well known. He was also a man of village, privileged as a chief of Abatembo, Inkosi. He was also educated in the discipline of law. With all these attributes that could have made a man of self-enrichment, he rather chose a path of being a selfless, a gallant fighter who had to make sure that look at the interests of the whole society as opposed to his life as an individual. Nelson Mandela and his eminent peers such as Oliver Tambo, Walter Sisulu, never counted their lives worthy of anything to themselves, but the meaning and depth of their lives were pinned on pouring themselves out of the people. Both the Millennium Development Goals of the early 2000s and the recent Sustainable Development Goals that has been written on the issue of United Nations with the sole purpose of developing a human society and just society. That is the core message. A society that enjoys equitable development and equality before the opportunities is always going to thrive. The Vision 2063 document produced by AU in the recent past also aimed at alerting African regional communities on the need of a developmental trajectory that is inclusive and takes everyone on board. And the reality of the situation is that all these efforts are aimed at rehumanizing the social order and bringing back the soul to the forever industrial world. Establishing in 2016 the World Football Summit, since first meeting in October 2016, has organized and brought together 12 events, highlighted already 1,020 speakers, 18,377 attendees, 292 clubs, 77 leagues and federations, 2,984 companies, which is a big thing. Surely with the spirit of Nelson Mandela at the core of this movement and the values of Ubuntu, which means selflessness, plus the cult of sportsmanship, there is so much that can come out here to make the world a better place. End violence against women and children, stop hunger, human trafficking, racism, discriminating based on a class, race, as well as end global village. I'm sure, as I've already ended my speech, some of you and the entire gate might be anticipating, what do we stand? Where do we stand as South Africa as we couldn't qualify for the World Cup? We support all African teams, and our prediction that is going to be a nice World Cup, and we wish all the best to those who have already qualified. I thank you so much, David.